Good evening and welcome back to NJ Fire Guys podcast. This is run number 43 with guest Carlos Lopez. Carlos Lopez began his fire service journey in 2014 with the Middlesex Fire Department at Lincoln Hose Company Number 1. Carlos developed a strong foundation in the fire service early on. At 21, Carlos expanded his horizons, working alongside the dedicated men and women in the Newcastle County, Delaware Fire Department, where he thrived in the fast-paced environment of county-operated system. In 2023, Carlos turned his attention to the behind-the-scenes aspect of the fire service, particularly in protective equipment sales. His career with a manufacturer provided him with invaluable insight into the development and production of turnout gear and protective equipment. By September 2024, Carlos advanced to a business development executive role with Galls, where he works closely with Lion to provide training, equipment, and PPE to fire departments. Carlos takes great pride in delivering high-quality equipment and ensuring firefighters have the tools they need to succeed. Carlos brings a wealth of hands-on experience, industry knowledge, and passion for the fire service, making him a valuable voice in the community fire service. Without further interruption, Carlos Lopez.
Thank you,
What's
Nick.
up, buddy?
How's it going?
That beard, bro. Seriously.
I know.
How are you, man?
Good. How are you?
How's your holiday season going?
It's going good. My girlfriend's keeping me busy. We just got a new dog. So
what'd you get?
Got a corgi. So it's like having a four-legged kid running around.
Okay. All right. I see.
So,
all right, man. So what's that?
Something small.
Yeah. Busy man, right?
That's true.
So tell me where Carlos grew up, what you were like when you grew up, and what brought you to the fire service.
Yeah, so as a small kid, my parents worked hard to make sure that we had a good upbringing. And growing up, I lived right around the corner from Middlesex Fire Company Number 1, so I could actually run to the station when there was calls. So joining there, I was probably 15 years old at the time, 16 years old. I believe it was 15 or 16 at the time, and met this gentleman who was a lieutenant at the time, Sean Young, bigger guy. Was pretty serious when it came to making decisions and letting you know how he felt about you, but guided me into the right direction. And 10 years, we're going 10 years now as a deputy chief of the department. I remember one of my first times walking up and one of my first calls in the department, he turned to me and said, "Hey, kid, go grab that tool." I think it was a Halligan bar, New York hook. I forget what it was, but at the time I grabbed the wrong tool, and he just looked at me with a face that I'll never forget. And from that point forward, I always remembered to make sure to grab the right tool. So he, without saying anything, he would just give you a look, and you'd kind of know what you messed up on.
Look at disappointment.
Yeah. So, but no, he's leading the department now as a deputy chief. I talk to him regularly, but a very strong leader for me, and guided me with not comfort, but with stern guidance, I would say.
Okay. All right. Hey, we all need that sometime in life.
Yeah, that is true.
We definitely all need it. All right. So where'd you go from there?
Yeah, so I had a gentleman who was actually son was on Middlesex, who was down in Newcastle County, Delaware. And at the time, that was a land that I never thought about going to fight fire at. And he was like, "You should come down here. It's a great opportunity to grow in the fire service." So I took the hour and a half drive and went down there, and amazing. I've never seen firehouses that size. Growing up in Jersey, I was used to a 1 or 2 bay door firehouse, and you get down south and they look like castles, some of them. So going from a municipality response to a county response level, that was a game changer, because you could go from the suburbs to row homes in 2 separate calls. So the everything that you were getting out of a county response definitely helped me understand the fire service a little bit better. And operating with battalion chiefs in the county hazmat responses, and all that good stuff. You were cross trained on squad, rescue, truck, so you weren't necessarily tied to one unit, which I like, heavily,
Okay.
because I was an engine guy my whole life, and then I started riding on a truck company, and I like the truck a lot more than the engine company, unfortunately.
You know, like dragon hose.
No, no. I mean, I'm vertically challenged. I'm 5'5", so uh,
Short
sometimes I
guys
have to
like you and
jump.
me. That's why they have 10 and 12-foot pike poles.
Exactly, exactly. So I always found that I like the truck life much, much better. And then from there, I started selling some fire equipment on the side. And I kind of felt that the fire service, there's so many opportunities, right? You can be a
Absolutely.
firefighter, you can be a fire marshal, you can. There's just so many different paths that you can take. So my focus was, putting on fire gear, putting on your equipment, your thermal imaging cameras. Where are we getting all of that from? What's the science behind it? What's really protecting us? And diving into my first NIOSH report that I ever read was actually from right here in New Jersey, 2005, from East Franklin. That was the first NIOSH report that I ever read. So going from there and bouncing between different NIOSH reports, unfortunately, every time a firefighter fatality happened, that gave me more of a purpose to really dive into the sense of pride of firefighting gear and equipment. Because if you look at NIOSH reports, there's always a common thing, right? Radio communications, PPE, training. So that really,
Size up,
right,
lack of
everything.
known command in IAP, and
Exactly. So that really wanted me to dive further into it. So starting to sell fire equipment and understanding where all that came from really helped me be a better fireman, only because I understood hey, making sure your guy next to you is wearing your gear correctly, or seeing a deficiency in a set of turnout gear or a thermal imaging camera, it helps. As this fire service is changing, when you were much younger in the fire service, you always had plumbers or masons that were,
yeah,
fixing up the firehouse. And you don't have that so much nowadays. It's
we got a
you're
guy. We'll
losing that
call a guy.
trend. Yeah, exactly. You used to be able to call, Joe Schmo, who was a member, come down with his tools after work and fix a pipe leak. Where
Yeah,
now it's not so common. So
we don't have
being able
as
to,
many people in the trades.
yeah, exactly. So being able to, I guess, help your volunteer fire station with your PPE and your tools and equipment, understanding all of the behind the scenes on it, you can help with gear committees on selecting the proper fire apparatus or PPE or training or tools, whatever. So behind the scenes was definitely a path that I wanted to take, and I started working for a manufacturer 2023, just after FDIC. Um, Worked for them for about a year and a half, and then a company called Gulls, who just recently did a good partnership with Lion, uh, building their fire PPE
I mean, I feel
sales.
like I feel like Gulls has been around forever. I used to
Yeah,
remember. They used to come in the mail all the time.
yeah, yeah. They're a monster company. They do an amazing job on providing. I mean, I think they're the largest provider for first responders in the industry. And
Okay.
now that they're getting into the fire side of things, is amazing. And Lion is such a, in my opinion, Lion is phenomenal gear. That I mean, that's why FDNY wears it, right? FDNY's R&D process is 10 years. That's a long cycle to wear trial and evaluate a set of turnout gear.
Yeah.
Going into that aspect and just kind of bringing a light to PPE, I always say I'm not a salesman. I just want to educate you on it. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But 9 out of 10 times they're going to select, blind PPE, which I think is good because the best departments out there are wearing it. So
All right. All right. I mean, if you want to give me a set, I can wear trial it for you.
yeah, we'll talk about that. See what we can do with it. So it's good stuff.
um. So like, what did you did you get involved in testing processes with the? I don't know if we can say the manufacturer you were working for's name or.
So I necessarily can't say their name, but I can tell
Okay,
you it was a
it's
footwear company.
it is a boot
Um,
manufacturer.
Yep, it was a boot manufacturer, so that kind of hints a little bit more in the correct direction because there's not too many of those that focus solely on footwear. But they did phenomenal product. They also won FDNY. They did some business with FDNY, and I believe they're still doing some in the academy setting. But very, very good product, bootwear and footwear, essentially. But that helped me really connect further with what these manufacturers go through on the backside of things, on just
Okay.
bringing products. Maybe it's overseas product or maybe it's manufactured here, but seeing it all put together. You look at a set of boots and you don't think of anything like it, but you put it on and people are pretty content with what they have. Right? I always say firefighters they hate two things, right? They hate how things are and they hate change. So trying to get them to change from something they've been doing for 100 years or 50 years is a big hurdle in some areas. But as the fire service evolves, I think there's further opportunity and further growth. We're sitting on a podcast right now. If you told your senior fireman 20 years ago that there's podcasts are going to take over the fire service, it's almost unheard of. But there's so many routes now that you can take as a firefighter. And I tell people that all the time in recruitment is you join your volunteer firehouse, the captain might be a police officer in another
Mm-hmm.
town. Your dream job might be a cop. Well, if you show that you're into at the firehouse, that guy might be your boss and interview you for your dream position. And I've seen
Yeah.
that happen before. So that's why I think the fire service is amazing. I always joke on my girlfriend all the time because she's a police officer, but she's also a volunteer firefighter. So she lives the best of both worlds in a sense. But so yeah, so she keeps busy.
Cops are definitely staying busy these days. Um,
Yeah.
so what are you doing with with galls really, or are you just mainly like working with the lion?
So the golf side, we have about 5 or 6 people in the field right now, salespeople in the field, who
And you got
are
and galls bought out a lot of storefronts, right? They're
yeah, yeah.
operating. They have brick
There's
and mortar
over
now.
there's over 100 storefronts throughout the U.S. They have a U.S. Patriot, I believe, on almost every military base in the U.S. So they have a whole Fed mill side. Our partnership with Lion on becoming a dealer for them really my position and the rest of the team with me is they're all focused on only PPE and training equipment. So
Okay.
Lion a few years back they bought a company called Bullex, which is all
Mm-hmm.
training systems and stuff.
Yeah.
And a few years back, 5, 6 years ago, I saw some VR headsets training, and I'm like, I don't know about that. But after seeing Lion on what they do on their end with their training systems, it is phenomenal. I mean,
Okay.
the ability to actually use, pump water from, your hose onto a nozzle and actually knock down an electrical box that looks like a fire, but it has to be like you have to have a certain pressure to be able to knock down a certain pattern. Same thing with the fire extinguishers and stuff. So it's very advanced training without, you know, you go into a burn building. Some
Okay.
unfortunately there's departments that can't afford that to do 4 times, 5 times, 6 times a year. So it's a little way to, maybe you have a cadet class that's just learning how to move some hose and move a nozzle around. It's a perfect advantage to do that. Or you're doing a community event with your fire marshal's bureau. You can use those training props to show people, this is the life of a fireman. So it definitely helps on that side of
Okay.
things too.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. I saw a system like that in FDIC a few years going back pre-COVID,
Yeah.
and it was like yeah, it had a weighted section of hose, and
Yep.
it was pretty
It's
cool.
interesting. Yeah, I mean, that was something that to me I've always liked, doing the real thing every time, right?
Yeah, of
So
course. Who doesn't?
right. Yeah, exactly. So, but
But I don't have
taking
a
this
I don't have a fire academy in my back pocket.
right, yes. So, I mean, having the ability to go and set up a prop like this and getting close to the real thing with smokes, smoke machines and stuff, it's really cool that on the abilities that you have with the system, without burning real fire. So, I mean, that definitely helps with the PFAS topic and cleaning
Mhm.
gear. And, that's a big topic nowadays, especially in the
Yeah.
Northeast, in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, banning PFAS in 2027, I think. So it's PFAS is a big topic. So we'll see. I mean, I know they have some departments in Florida are wearing PFAS free garments that look like fire gear that,
Okay.
just for those calls that aren't, I guess, a priority that you need full turnout gear.
Yeah.
So it's definitely interesting to see a different approach to it. I sit back in the chair and I kind of watch on the PFAS discussion only because to me PFAS is so new in the manufacturing realm of things. So you sit there and you're like, I don't want to be the first fire chief with a fully electric fire truck, right? So I don't want to be that guy. So it's
Yeah.
almost like the
Nobody
PFAS
wants to be
topic,
that
right?
guy.
It's yeah. So it's almost like the PFAS topic. You want to slow down. Let's you see where this goes. Do some testing, and I think it's a good topic. But I think we're just manufacturing wise. Um, I think it needs more time, but there's one thing that Lion does very well. They have it's called Red Zone. So it's the only UL certified uh, garment that actually protects you fully in structural firefighting, but it has that PFAS free materials inside of it. But it's UL tested, which is something that no one else has, which I thought that was really cool, is because they're actually, in my opinion, they're going more above and beyond than any other manufacturer right now in fire gear.
Okay. All right. Right.
So
What like how are they testing? How are they getting there?
So as for I mean, they have TPP and THL testing, of course, and
Yeah.
RET testing for breathability. But as for the PFAS topics, Gore, DuPont, Steadair, they're all textile companies that are developing all of these PFAS-free materials.
Okay.
Much smarter people than I am. I'm not a science person. Um, but they're doing a lot of hard work to make sure those chemicals are not inside of those products that we're using in our moisture barriers and our
Hmm.
thermal liners and our outer shells and all that good stuff. So it's definitely interesting to see the PP side take this new turn in the fire service. So I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely. Anything that makes the job safer, you know,
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's
so that we can still do the job,
yep.
but be safer doing it.
Exactly. I mean, you see departments. I don't know if there's anybody actively doing it, but the whole clean cab topic that was coming out a few years back with no turnout gear inside the cab. You get to the scene, you put it on at the scene, and then you go and perform your duties. And like I don't know, about that. I mean, I think over time, you develop a sense to get your gear on quicker. But again, if you take a department that's been doing
Well, that means I
putting on
won't have
gear
to do 2-minute drills at the academy, right?
yeah, right. So new ways of doing things. I think it's an interesting approach that we're taking. I know we kind of talked about the NFPA before and different approaches that they take, and some people saying ban the NFPA, and so
Stupid.
yeah. I mean, I think the NFPA
Stupid.
has its place because they
Hey, you know what? Without I will argue with anybody about the NFPA. If you say ban the NFPA, you're a fucking idiot. I can say that F word on my show because it's my show. You're an
yeah,
idiot.
exactly. Yeah,
If
no,
you're
it's true.
if you're saying ban the NFPA, you don't understand what the NFPA has done for the fire service in the last 40 years. You don't understand what it has taken for the fire service to create the NFPA. Do I agree with everything?
No,
Not at all.
right.
But also, when politicians try to cut staffing, what do we have to, what leg do we have to fight them with?
Yeah,
NFPA, here. look, you're holding us accountable for it. We're going to hold you accountable to it.
Right.
There's your
Yeah.
staffing. There's your new equipment. There's your fund. Without NFPA, you have no justification for funding.
Right. I mean, you
Go back
talk
to
about,
having pancake breakfasts and
yeah,
every
shake a
you
boot
know
on the side of the highway. Yeah.
yeah
No, it's yeah, it was a perfect topic, but to kind of forward it too is you look at a fire chief, right? And he, no matter what he does, his decision's always you're wrong or you're right. You're never gonna be able to satisfy everybody as a chief.
yeah.
And there's departments that I see that are 2,200 man fire departments, right? They're large departments, and
Mhm.
the PPE committees that are trying to, figure out what gear to go to. And it's like, well, this guy, this group isn't going to like this because of X, Y, and Z. And, this group's not going to like this because of X, Y, and Z. You have 2,200 people that you have to try to satisfy. You're
Yep.
never going to satisfy every single person.
And
It's just not possible.
if you send out 2,200 surveys, you're going to
Yeah.
get back maybe 100,
Right.
maybe, unless you
Yeah.
incentivize the survey.
Yeah. That's true.
But then
So,
what am I finding out?
yeah.
Nothing.
No, and that's the big topic. I mean, I remember when I was doing a sizing. This was a while ago, and the firefighter was like, "Oh, sitting there smoking a vape, trying on fire gear," and he's like, "Oh, is there PFAS in this?" And the chief turns around and goes, "Really? You're sitting here, you're smoking, and you're
You're
worried about
sucking on a
PFAS."
vape.
Yeah, and you're worried about PFAS. So
Do you
you just
even
kind
know
of
what
sit that
PFAS
back and
is?
laugh. Yeah, you sit back and laugh. But I think like one person that I think's killing it in the in the fire industry is Tara Cornett from Flame Decon. She's doing a phenomenal job with that product. I mean, I use it regularly. Just getting all the carcinogen. You sit back at a fire, you go to a fire, you come home, you smell like smoke, and it's gross all around. You shower with that stuff. That's the only soap that I ever loved when I was still riding fire trucks, to get that smell off of you. And she's got
Can I
science to
get it through
prove.
Galls?
I have some. I'll send it to you.
Um, if somebody wanted to buy it, could they buy it from Galls?
As of right now, we don't have access to that.
Well, how would you go about getting that as a product?
Well, we'll have some conversations, but right
There you
now
go.
we're
See?
focused on fire PPE and training equipments and uniforms. They have a very large warehouse with about, I think it's like $80 million worth of stock that they have inside this warehouse in Lexington, Kentucky. So they do a very good job on ensuring that they have everything they need for our end users.
All right. All right. Where are some of the locations that they have?
So locally in New Jersey, they have our Sussex branch. Right, if you're in Jersey and you Google Galls, there's two locations that pop up. Right, one right in Ewing and one right in Secaucus, New Jersey.
Okay.
So those are the only two right now in New Jersey. Hopefully, I'm able to bring some strong customers on, and maybe we'll have more locations in the Garden State. But we'll have to see, when the time comes.
All right. Excellent. Um, what right? We went through this so cool. Like I wanted to talk more about your career before we went into this, but let's talk about your
Yeah,
career now.
yeah. So, again, going back to Middlesex, that's where it all started. I feel like I
Mhm.
can never escape that town, no matter how much I try to. But it's a small little town. But growing up there, it really gave me thick skin. Right, everyone from New Jersey's got a pretty strong attitude and pretty thick skin if you're from the Northeast. And so that's where I got it from, is the I'm gonna win at everything I do attitude, and make sure you do it right attitude is gonna that's where I built that from. So there's a lot of good chiefs. I mean, the chief of Middlesex right now is Ken Bartok. The deputy is Sean Young. They're doing a phenomenal job on just taking that department from where it was years ago. Just it was a great department. Just slow, a little slow pace on progression. Right, it's hard to take a department, especially a small agency, to progress fast.
Absolutely.
So as time comes and as I travel the East Coast a little bit with my current position, I see more and more that chief officers and lieutenants and captains are all becoming younger and younger and younger. I was in Pennsylvania on the eastern part of PA. I have a pretty large department, pretty busy department, and the chief was 32 years old. And it's like, that's a young chief, but I tell you, looking at a 32-year-old chief, that house was 100% volunteer and staffed with 12 guys inside of it. So they're doing something right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, then you go back to a conversation like we were having off air. How
Yeah,
sustainable is that?
right.
When you talk about young kids going off to college, coming home, not being able to afford to live in the same town they grew up in, or
Yeah.
getting out of college and going out into the world, finding someplace else to build their lives and their careers.
Yeah. I mean, me and Sean Young had a conversation, this is a few years back, where every firehouse, no matter where you are, you're going to have your high years where that truck is
Hmm.
rolling for every call. You're fighting people to get into the seats
Yep.
and you're getting out quick. And then you're going to have those low years where you're going to be kind of struggling to get a truck out the door because, again, as we talked about off air, is you recruited 18 to 21-year olds, and
Yeah.
now 5, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, those 18 to 21-year olds are either going to college or building their families. They're doing something more with their lives. They're building their families,
Yeah.
and they don't have the firehouse became second priority or third priority to
Yeah.
them. And when the time's right, they'll come back. But that's where recruitment is just huge. And you see departments now doing emergency nexus videos and just killing it with marketing and selling their departments. But we talked about funding a little while ago, and I wish politics weren't so hard and heavy in the fire service because every fire department would be
Yeah.
running so well if that was the case. But you see some departments that they're not adequately funded, or you see the city departments where they're closing
Down
firehouses,
and
and
out.
then
Yeah.
2 days later there's a fire right across the street, and it's a fatality.
Yeah.
So we talk about funding, we talk about the NFPA, and we talk about everything that matters behind this, behind closed doors that people in the public don't always understand. Is we have to fund our departments adequately.
Yeah.
It's
And really that
sustainability.
comes back to uh, honestly it comes back to making the fire service a business.
Yeah,
And our executive officer, our chief of department or our commissioner, whatever, needs to know, one, what we need
yeah,
in the fire service, and two, needs to have that foresight. Like I may have gotten into an argument on Facebook maybe like an hour and a half ago.
yeah,
Somebody made a comment on a certain apparatus manufacturer, um, asking what the turnaround time for new apparatus sale is right
right,
now, and somebody was saying 3 to 4. The general gist was like 3 to 5 years, somewhere in there.
yeah,
And I made a simple comment that this is why we need to be proactive, and we need to gather data and start truly educating our politicians, or our governing bodies,
right,
our pocketbook holders, really, that hey, the turnaround time on a new apparatus is getting this high. Hey, you know what? Our 15-year-old engines starting to have more
yeah,
downtime, that's starting to have higher price, repairs. Maybe we should start looking now to replace it. Or
right,
you know what? Maybe we should start a replacement cycle that is sooner than we used to do, which was a 25 or 20 year.
right,
Maybe we need to start looking at that sooner, especially since the cost of apparatus is now double what it was last time we replaced something. And some guy started on this tangent about how his town replaced volunteer engine with a pickup truck, but bought a brand new tower ladder for the career staff. I'm like, I'm not trying to get into that argument. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that. And then he starts attacking his politicians. I'm like, dude, I don't even know where you're from. I don't know you. I was like, I'm merely stating a fact that 90% of the fire service
Right.
is struggling because their
Yeah.
politicians aren't educated properly as to
No.
how long it takes to get a new fire truck, how
Yeah. I
much
mean,
a new fire truck costs. Like,
yeah. I mean, I try to always educate people too. Is when you sit down and you talk to a fire chief or a captain or lieutenant that's in charge of PP or equipment, I always try to bring in a commissioner or a public official that has some interest in it, so that they can understand. Hey, a normal rate of fire gear is anywhere between 3,800 to 5 grand, depending on the realm of schemes of how
yeah,
you want to build this spec.
yeah,
So definitely with the fire truck thing, it's that topic is amazing because you have fit like you said, a 15-year-old apparatus that has to get replaced in 5 years or 10 years. If you don't start putting money away from that now, you're never going to recover your budget to buy an
no,
apparatus, a new
nope,
apparatus. And it's you talk about, I think, city of New York, they circle their trucks out every 10 years,
something
and
like
they're
that,
abusing
10,
them.
15.
Yeah, but they're abusing them out there. But
Well, they're running.
yeah, right. So, you look at the trucks here in New Jersey, we'll talk about, City of Elizabeth. They're busy. They're moving those trucks left and right. They're turning their wheels very often. The
Yeah,
maintenance is high on that. If people don't understand that, gas prices aren't going down,
yeah,
maintenance isn't going down. You got to hire somebody to fix that truck. You got to
mm-hmm,
hire somebody for just the everyday wear and tear repairs,
yeah,
and that all costs something, right? It's all a salary, it's all
yep,
benefits. It's expensive. The fire service is a very expensive business,
absolutely.
and
Yeah,
you look
you
at
said that you hit the nail on the head with that B word, business.
yeah,
It is a
right,
business. It's
yep,
not, and whether it's career department or volunteer department,
yeah,
it's a business.
right,
It
and then
needs we
I
need to
I
start
always
approaching it as that, not
right
a boys club, really.
no, I always like the departments who you get like a group of really young guys and they see these drones with some departments. They have drones and
Oh,
they're
whoa, whoa,
operating
whoa,
them on
whoa, whoa,
incidents.
whoa! This is New
Not the
Jersey.
ones that are
You can't
yeah,
say that
not
D
the
word
ones
right now. You
yeah,
cannot
not the
say
ones
that
that are
D
flying
word.
right now. Forgot about that. I tried not to look up at the
If the
sky.
FCC is listening, you do not
Yeah, we're
hear that
safe.
D word.
But you see these guys that are they want to get these drones set up for their departments and using them for size ups or thermal imaging camera from an iBird's view of the incident. It's like chief sits there and he has papers stacked on his desk of a million other things that he has to worry about, and
Mm-hmm.
they go to maybe 12 working fires a year. What do we need a drone for? And then you turn around and you go, we don't need that. Have a nice day. So I had a
Well, if you
chief.
don't buy me a drone, I'm gonna quit.
Yeah, right. So Sean Young said it perfect. I always make fun of this guy and say he needs to write a Bible so he can write all his good stuff inside of it. But don't if you want something, don't bring the chief homework to do. Right.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
you want something, come in with a presentation and
Bring
show
in a
the
plan.
chief yeah, everything and how you're going to execute this and why the department needs it. And all he has to say is go, all right, this is how we're going to get the money for it. Or, let's plan the budget around this. But if you can sit there and execute an entire plan of from why you need it to how you're going to get it and how it's going to be used, and it's efficient to make a politician understand, the chief can go to a politician and say, this is what we need. This is why.
Yeah,
So that's always
absolutely.
an interesting topic that I like to, talk about is getting someone that doesn't understand the fire service to understand it and
Yeah,
present it in a way that it's a business. This is why we need it, and this is all the data that backs why we need something.
absolutely. I did 100%. 100%. So now
So,
from the sales point, do
yep.
you have any advice to excuse me, do you have any advice for our listeners on how to justify, turnout gear or how to sell that gear to their politicians or
Yeah.
their governing bodies?
So there's one thing that as selling line and having the ability to have it's called ISO dry. And even if you don't have line, this is a key point to do. But you count every firefighter that you have in your department that's active, that's coming to calls, that's being proactive for the department, and you sit
Mhm.
down and you make a budget, right? A set of turnout gear, let's just say it's in the ballpark, a very good set. Let's say it's a ballpark of $4,500, right? And you sit down and you have to get basic uniforms, right? Everybody loves uniforms nowadays, whether it's a t-shirt, duty pants, or boots. Some people nowadays just love uniforms. So you set up a budget, say it's 8 grand for every firefighter. If you go to that department and you say, Chief, this is what we have, we're going to set aside 8 grand for every firefighter and officer. The reason for this is we are rolling 12 guys to every call. In the next 5 years, right? We'll do a 5-year plan. We're going to recruit, let's say, 45 firefighters on a ballpark. And in 5 years, we'll recruit 45 firefighters. Well, that $4,500 for every set of for every set of firemen is just gone up 45 more guys. So if you can justify turning around, let me get my dog to stop whining. If you can justify, Chief, we're active, we're going to every call, we're making, let's say that firehouse is going to 75% of the runs, 85% of the runs inside the district or inside of the township. Not every firehouse is set up where some departments have one station, some departments have multiple. So if we were just talking about another department that had 11 stations. So if you sit down and you have multiple stations and you have to plan your budget based on your station, you have to look at the data that shows the runs that you're going on, the wear and tear on your gear.
Mhm.
It's how often are you replacing gear? You have to get all this data together to say this is the amount of money that we actually need. And if you don't have that data to prove, then if you don't give us 12 sets of gear a year in the next 5 years, we're not going to be able to put more guys in the truck with NFPA certified garments. And you always go back to the NFPA rule, right? Is
It's
once you
gonna be
throw
the
some,
rule soon.
yeah. I mean, you throw some legality out there, it's going to back your statement. But understanding of you have an average of 12 guys on a call, you have to replace gear every 5 years. My recommendation is every 3 to 5 years, depending on how busy you are, because you're going to beat it up. That gear in 5 years, it can become your backup set, and then you get a new set. So now you have 2 sets of gear, but you're an active fireman, right? So the department's not wasting money on we size you for brand new gear, and 2 weeks later you're out the door.
Now, do you guys, whether through Galls or through Lion, have some kind of like a leasing option?
So they can rent gear. If that is that what you're talking about? Kind of just renting fire gear?
Maybe not renting as much as like if I have a new kid, if I have an 18-year-old kid coming in off the street
Yeah,
and he gets through firefighter one, but you know what? I know he's going to college the end of next year. So I want to get him gear for now, and I want to get him gear for if he comes back. But if he doesn't come back after college, after 4
yeah.
years, 5 years,
You're stuck with a
I
custom
want to
set
be
gear.
able I want to be able to swap this out
Yeah,
and maybe get a new set of gear for somebody else,
yeah.
or
So
maybe get a discount towards a set of gear, something like that. You
absolutely.
know?
Yeah. So what we're doing right now, Galls has I think it's about 200 sets of gear in stock at our warehouse, um, in Lexington, Kentucky. So I think it's like a 7 to 10 day ship time.
Okay.
It could be even faster. Where it's close to your size, it may not be exactly, fitted for you because again, it's not a custom set of gear for yourself, but it's close to your sizing enough to protect you adequately. So we
Okay.
have that option where you can get, a rush gear order, it sends them through the academy, it gets you to where you need to be. And if he may not come back, you can give it to somebody else that it fits. And if it fits him well, you can easily get that gear tailored a little bit better. Now it fits that individual, much better than it did the original. So you
Okay.
can kind of get it, the sleeves tailored, the waist tailored, the pants tailored, so that it's more tailored to that firefighter now than the first guy who was, hit or miss if he was going to stay. So it's definitely a cheaper option because it's not a custom spec. Um, and we're using very good textiles with that. It's Flex 7 with Pioneer, so it's a very good. We have Pioneer. It's a very good spec, and Flex 7. That's my favorite personally for your outer shell. Very flexible garment, very breathable. It's almost I call it, if you're an active fireman, you're busy, you're going after it. Flex
Hmm.
7 is truly my favorite outer shell, only because you get all that mobility out of it with Lions V4 set. So going to that route, with cost savings and everything, I think is a perfect approach because you can get that gear very quickly. And then if that guy doesn't pan out, hey, we can tailor it to the next guy and adjust it. And we have right in Wilmington, Delaware, Lion has an ISP that goes and they can adjust garments and fix garments as needed. So it's very close. I believe they have 8 locations, maybe a little bit more throughout the U.S.
Okay.
That tailors those, turnout gear for people, for
Okay.
departments.
Do you have some kind of cleaning service or something that you guys are
Yep.
involved with, or?
Yeah, so that ISP by Lion Protects, they do their cleaning service, they do the full repairs. It's right in Wilmington, Delaware, so it is a little bit. I mean, all the driving, if you're coming from our neck of the woods, all the driving is in New Jersey, and then you get right over the bridge, and you're right in Wilmington, Delaware. So
Okay.
it's very close, and they're very quick. They do a very good job on. It's hard to get an ISP. Obviously, with NFPA and the rules and regulations and stuff, you see some of these, awesome cleaning companies that are cleaning on the road and fully compatible with ISP, but certified ISP with a whole cut sheet of what's wrong with your gear. They're cleaning it, they're
Hmm.
getting it back to your station all in one day. That's a great service, but if that gear has to be fixed, you have to send it to another ISP to get fixed. And if that ISP has to fix something, well, they're going to charge you again because they're going to wash it because they didn't wash it. You know, they don't know who washed it before they touched it. So to
Yeah.
protect themselves with their licensing, they're going to wash it again. They're going to charge you for that rewash. And it's not that great to wash gear all the time. They always say wash gear after every fire. And I don't recommend that. What I recommend is once, maybe twice a year or, every quarter, maybe, wash your gear, but do a gross decon. Take the Dawn dish soap and clean your gear up to get all that gross dirt and soot off of you. But use your manufacturer recommendation, of course. It says on your garments, but just do a gross decon, get that bad stuff off you, go in, take a shower, you know, be take one step ahead of preventing cancer. And I think that's a adequate
Absolutely.
approach. I think that's a more strategic approach to preventing cancer is not smoking, eating healthy, working out when you can, and but wash your gear, but don't overwash your gear. You see some of these guys that are washing your gear after every fire, and the gear's fading, and they go, "Well, this gear must be terrible because it's fading." No, you're just overwashing your gear. If
Yeah.
you just gross decon with some soap and right in the bay, soap it down, hose it down, rinse it off, dry it, and it's good, for the next fire. But you don't have to wash it over and over and over again after every fire because if you look at some departments, they could be going 2 or 3 fires a day. If you're washing your gear after every fire or at the end of your shift, and you're having multiple busy shifts, your gear is going to start discoloring, and it's not going to be good. So washing your gear once in a while is a lot better than washing your gear after every fire.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. What else you got for me, man?
Let's see. We are going to be in Wildwood in 2025.
Okay.
I have I think I'm going to be ordering, I'm actually looking at it right now. The first 100 people at the booth at the Wildwood show will be getting a complimentary free cigar from the Mobile Cigar Lab. So it's an awesome cigar. So it's a nice smoke. Something to smoke on while you're walking around and stuff.
Weren't you just talking about not smoking?
Yeah, it was. I was. It was kind of twofold there, but
Shisa.
yeah, a cigar once in a while is not bad for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
2-3 day. It's all
all
right.
right, it's all right. Be all right. Just brush your teeth after, throw a
Yeah.
breath in, you'll be all right. But yeah, no, but no, we're doing very big things with Lion Turnout Gear, kind of bringing more of a value to it in our territory. I think it gets covered very well. There's a lot of large metro departments that wear it, so bringing more light to it is gonna feel great. And there goes Patrick Workus. I feel attacked.
Former guest of the
That's
show.
actually
Chief.
when I was talking.
Congratulations, by the way, Chief
Yeah,
Workus,
that's right. Congrats
on your CFO.
He feels attacked because he's actually one of the guys that overwashes gear. He's a busy guy.
Hey, you know what? He's got a family at home. He wants to be around for him.
Exactly. He's actually getting some Lion gear.
What?
Yeah, he's a busy guy.
All right. So what else do you have going on? Are you sponsoring any events coming up? Or are you going to be at any shows or events coming up? Or?
Absolutely. If there's anybody out there that's listening in that has either their union or department does some type of foundation fundraiser, we're looking at to start being more involved in those foundations. I know we were talking. There was one in Baltimore for their Widows Foundation.
Okay.
So we're talking about doing that. One in Philadelphia as well. We're actively trying to do more with foundations to bring obviously more. Everyone needs funding, right? We're talking about funding a little earlier.
Yeah.
But we're trying to help with that approach. With the trade shows and everything as well, trying to bring more to it. I'm actually going to have Ray McCormack, hopefully down at Wildwood, talking to people, showing his hen nozzle down there.
Okay.
So, kind of bringing more people with along with me in this journey. I think it's going to help significantly because you get Rob from Ridgeway Leatherworks, right? Awesome
dude.
guy.
Great dude.
Yeah, great dude. He comes on with his product down in Wildwood. His team and his knowledge with Ray McCormack and all those great guys in one
And
group in
NJ
one
Fire
booth.
guys.
And NJ Fire
Podcast,
guys down in the booth, yeah. Bringing all that, a great group of people down to the booth and just kind of talking, amongst ourselves and spreading that knowledge is what I like to do. Because I feel like if I'm doing successful, I want my counterparts to do successful as well. So that it's just one thing that I'm trying out, and hopefully it works out well.
Absolutely, definitely. All right, man. So if you don't have anything else, let's jump into the jersey questions.
Yeah.
All right. Number 1. Is it pork roll or Taylor ham?
Pork roll.
All right.
It's pork roll. Clear as day.
All right. Best pizza.
Ooh.
Nah.
Best pizza. That's a hard one. I would say one of my favorites was Luca's in Middlesex, New Jersey. I do enjoy the Lucia's in Raritan.
Okay.
So they
All
got a
right.
9.8 on Dave Portnoy's pizza app.
All right. All right. All right. Do you go to the beach or you go down the shore?
Down the shore.
Down the shore. Point of choice? Port of choice?
Long Branch, typically.
All right. Which beach?
I
Seven
guess it's
Presidents, North
Seven
Beach.
Presidents. Seven
All right.
Presidents. My girlfriend's the beach person. I kind of just follow along, but I know it's Seven Presidents.
All right. Next question. Does Central Jersey really exist?
Yes, anybody that disagrees is wrong.
All right. You're right. You're right. Where are you drawing your northern line and your southern line?
Ooh.
This is the big
This
controversy.
is so I would say the southern line is Ocean County down,
Okay.
and then I would say the northern line. I'm gonna pull up a map here to get completely correct here. I would say the northern line to me is anything from Morris County up is North Jersey, in my opinion.
Morris County. That's high, man.
Well, that's me.
So like
Yeah,
you're going like Route like 78?
yeah, like
Okay.
78 north
78.
is yeah.
All right.
Once it's 30 minutes or more to get to where you are in North Jersey, that you're considered North Jersey.
All right. I got you. I got you. It makes sense. Somehow. But it does.
Somehow.
If you're from
Yeah.
Jersey, it does.
Yeah.
Who are or were some of your biggest mentors?
Or Sean Young was my biggest mentor. Just growing up in the fire service, gradually, he was just an amazing person that guided me, with that tough guidance that I needed. I would say the second, I would say at a time a little later in my time at Middlesex was Jim Rinker and Brian Maddox. Jim Rinker passed away in 2017, I want to say. 2017 he passed away, but he was a past chief, past Middlesex County Fire Marshal. He was the kind of chief that actually taught me how to hold a nozzle.
Okay.
And I actually, prior to growing the beard, that's how I always held a nozzle. And I was just comfortable with that all the way until, now with the beard. But and then Brian Maddox was, again, a tough company officer who did a really good job, just kind of motivating guys to get on the truck, go to jobs, and get things done, and being stand-up fireman.
All right, excellent. Proudest achievement or accomplishment?
Man, that's a hard one. I would say in 2022 when I became captain. 2022 when I became I would say 2022 when I became captain, and then early on in my career, I guess, was when my first ever save was a dog, was a 4-legged dog, and I
Okay.
think that was the guy actually some of the guys at the firehouse printed out save Fido stickers on the side of my helmet and left that for me as a nice joke.
Hey, life is life.
Yeah, but I'd say those are the two good ones. There's a lot of different things that we've done in the fire service, but I think those are the two that stick out the most to me.
Okay. Now, what advice do you have for the fire service?
As if you're a leader in the fire service, I would say definitely take the time to listen to the low firemen on the lower totem pole. Listen to what they have to say. Don't just dish them away. And if you are a new fireman, I would say, you have two ears and one mouth for a reason. So close your mouth and listen up, because that senior fireman can, he might be giving you tough love, but you're going to understand why in a few years.
Absolutely. Definitely. Great advice. All right. So do you have anything else? Or...
No, that's really it. I think we capitalized everything. I'm not a big interesting person.
Any shout outs you got for her?
Just shout out to the Middlesex Fire Department, hands down. Those guys are, that's my home. Those guys are great guys over there. Chief Ken Bartok, Deputy Chief Sean Young. You guys are, they're building a very good department over there. So they're doing good things. And then over to I would say, since I live in Somerset now, those East Franklin guys, they're my home company now, who respond to my house if anything happens. So shout out to those guys. They're killer firemen over there for sure. Danny K runs a tight ship.
All right, excellent. All right, man, stick around. I'm gonna bump you into the backstage area. Say our
Sounds good.
goodbyes off air, and
All right. Thanks for having me on.
absolutely, thank you for coming on. All right, everybody, that wraps up another excellent run number 43 with Carlos Lopez. If I don't see you, have a happy holidays. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy New Year. Next week, we got another episode coming out before the end of the new year. Have a good one. Stay safe, everybody.